Good morning, everyone. It's Ariana Newcomer, and this is Wisdom Wednesdays. And I am a Dove Oracle Priestess coming to you from Central California, where we are very glad to be receiving rain. This is our rainy season, and so we can have the relief of not having to worry about big forest fires for a while till it goes dry again, as it does always here. So today's topic is the heart brain, or our heart intelligence. And I'm going to have another book recommendation for you. As you probably realized, I read a lot and I always love learning new things. And right now I am taking a course, an online course, which is actually pre-recorded with Greg Braden, who has this wonderful book out called Human by Design. And the course is called the same. The course is run through the Shift Network if you're interested in doing this. And in the module that I'm working with, he's actually teaching us to create coherence between the heart and the brain. And there's some really interesting stuff in here. Greg is a scientist, so he has an approach that really combines science with spirituality, which is, in my opinion, the way we're going to end up having to go, because many of the things that our science teaches us are wrong. I mean, how many times have you heard of science having to revise what it says is true about something or other? So one of the things in the Human by Design course is this discussion of the heart brain, and Greg has worked with the Heart Math Institute to a certain extent, and they've done quite a bit of research on the heart brain and heart intelligence. And there actually are cells in the heart that feel, sense, and remember. We have memory in cells in our heart, and there are certain kind of neurites. And when we create coherence between the heart and the brain, then we can access some of those higher and deeper states of being human that help us become more fully human and fully able to create this great shift that we're working with creating at this time. This elevation in human consciousness and our greater abilities for healing, for compassion, for working together, etc. So it's really exciting. And I'm just going to sort of touch on these things a little bit. You can, of course, get Greg's book. You can look up Heart Math. But there also is a gut brain too. And one of the things that Greg talks about in his course is the vagus nerve, which is a cranial nerve from the head brain, which goes to actually all of the organs. So the vagus nerve connects to our heart. So it's one of the ways that we can create this connection between the head brain and the heart brain is through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve also goes to all of our digestive organs. So it's part of what is coming to be called the gut brain. So I'm really curious about what happens if we create coherence with all three of those brains that live within our physical body. And then what if we include our divine self intelligence from our eighth chakra, from that highest, it's not the highest chakra, but that eighth chakra is sort of the home of our higher self or divine self. So if we connect our spiritual brain with our head brain, with our heart brain, with our gut brain, what could happen then? But these techniques of creating coherence between the heart brain and the brain in the head are ones that have been practiced by many, many indigenous cultures. And the Buddhist monks use this kind of technique and often can stay in this coherent state for hours and hours at a time. So the way that we come to it is by bringing attention to our heart, bringing our awareness into our heart, and then what Greg is teaching us, and again, this is just my short thing, so if you want to do more, I recommend either doing this course with Greg or getting his book, but using these 4 feeling states of either appreciation, gratitude, care, or compassion to get ourselves into this state connection with the heart and to begin to create the coherence between the beating of the heart rate, and the brainwave state, so that it comes into coherence. And another thing that's interesting to me too is that when the heart is coming into coherence with the brain, the rate, the frequency is 0.1 hertz, which is a very low frequency. So this is another thing that fits in with you've heard me talk about this, I don't want you to raise your vibration. I want you to harmonize. I want you to be able to pay attention to the low frequencies as well as the higher frequencies, because then we're balanced. So this heart coherence comes at this very low frequency. And that's what the heart recognizes as love, and the brain recognizes as the kind of the frequency of love, is this very low frequency. Isn't that interesting? So another reason for us to just stop trying to be all up here, and to allow ourselves to experience, harmonize, and tune in to those lower frequency states so that we can become balanced and we can access these things like our heart, brain, and heart coherence. Another thing that's really interesting in this context of the heart brain is that when there is a heart transplant, the person who receives someone else's heart also receives many of their memories. And Greg told a story about a girl who had received the heart of a young girl who had actually been murdered. And she started having nightmares. And they were the nightmares of being murdered. And she was able to talk with the police and tell them enough from the memories she received from this girl's heart that the man was found and arrested. So the heart brain is a real thing. This is another piece in this context of expanding our perceptions, expanding our ideas, and stop limiting ourselves so much into what we've been taught, how we've been taught, the particular experiences that we've had, but to continue to open our minds in the brain here, our hearts, our gut, and our spiritual self, our divine self, to what else is possible? What else is this human self capable of doing, being, and becoming? What do we just not know yet about this miraculous thing that is a human? Let's just keep that open, keep our various intelligences open, and continue to receive and learn this new information, and cultivate this ability to come into coherence with our heart. And I'd love to hear if you have experience of creating this coherence and have this experience of being, of knowing from the heart, of being in your heart brain. Where has that led you? How has it helped you? And let's keep working with these things. And what about the gut brain? And what if we created coherence between all of those intelligences that we have available to us, that we have access to as these combined human and divine beings? Then what else is possible? So let's just take a moment. Put your hand on your heart. I invite you to close your eyes. Slow and deepen the breath, because that automatically starts to shift us out of the fight or flight nervous system into the calming and centering nervous system. And then that will allow us to come into our hearts more. Breathing consciously, slowly, and deeply. Hand on the heart. Bringing awareness to the heart. And some of you may already have a practice of gratitude So this can be part of creating this coherence between the heart brain and the brain in our head and the one in our gut. What if we did that too? So bringing this awareness to the heart, and then thinking of some things that you are grateful for, that you truly and deeply appreciate, some things that you deeply care for, or having compassion, something that you have some deep compassion for, and stay with that feeling. Use your hand on your heart and your breath to help you stay with that feeling. And just create this intention that you're going to make a connection, a coherence between your heart, brain, and the brain in your head. And create this greater understanding, more of an ability to live from the heart, to speak from the heart, to think from the heart, to experience from the heart. These higher and deeper ways that we have of being in the world. It's not all up here. So coming into the heart and just taking this time to be in the heart, be in appreciation, gratitude, care, compassion. According to Greg, it takes at least 3 minutes for coherence to begin to happen. And then the longer we can stay in the state, then the more we can access some of what Greg calls our superpowers. So, but just this brief time of just being in the heart can just shift how we look at things, can't it? It can shift us into a different and more loving state for our whole day. So I recommend this as a practice. It's lovely even if you just do 3 minutes at a time. Just getting into your heart, connecting with the heart, and focusing on appreciation, gratitude, or care, or compassion, any one of those will start to activate that coherence. Have a wonderful day.